Today we are talking to Lainy Russell from Achievement for All, who runs the Achieving Further programme. So could you please tell me, how did the Post-16 programme come about?
Okay, well, I was very fortunate to come in at the very beginning. Achievement for All had an incredibly successful school programme, and we received some money from the government to do a very small trial to see whether it would work in colleges. And we went into about 3 colleges and had a look at the programme and tried to match it to what they were doing in Post-16. It was good, it looked like it was going to work, and then we were incredibly unfortunate to get a big fund from Blagrave, who were a trust that came in and supported that development of the programme. So we spent another couple of years developing it with 22 colleges. So those colleges had actually a really big input into the programme. So we really sort of did for the industry, by the industry, which is a common phrase we use in Post-16. We rolled out the finished programme about 2 years ago. This is our 3rd September now. It's our 3rd year of running it. And it has had some fantastic results, and if you look at the website you can see some of the videos of some of the people that we work with.
That's brilliant. So what would you say have been the main issues colleges wanted to address?
Right, probably no big surprise to anybody working in Post-16 that the maths and English retakes have been a really big part of what we've been doing. As you probably know, the government has now requested that all people in that age group get a GCSE of grade C, or in the new framework a grade 4. So having to work with young people who have been kind of demoralised and failing at school has really challenged staff in colleges. Behaviour management has been a really big thing as well, and not always big behaviour management. A lot of them were looking at low-level things that were really disrupting classes. We've also looked at, sort of following on from that really, sort of student engagement and demotivated students. And again, particularly because now students have to go to college right up to the age of 18. So they may have chosen a subject just because they had to, and they may not have a total affinity with it. So those sorts of things have disengaged and demotivated students. A couple of the colleges actually have been working on boys, because the boys weren't achieving as well as the girls, and that's been really interesting to work with those colleges. And again, and no big surprise to anybody in the industry, where restructures and mergers have happened, and where the staff teams have changed and the management has changed, there's been a lot of demotivated staff, and that has had an impact on performance and student achievement. So I'd say they're kind of the big things that we've worked on.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us some of the things people have done to improve maths and English results?
Yeah, there's been a wide variety of things actually, but I think the one thing that stood out for all of us when I started talking to the students, and also from my own experience, is the way that somebody who isn't getting a subject learns it, which is sometimes different to the way that somebody is teaching it because they love that subject and they really get it. So we've had to look at alternative ways of engaging those students. The other problem that we've had is that if you're teaching a vocational subject, and it doesn't necessarily need a high level of English or maths, it's sometimes quite hard for staff to see the correlation between the two, and so then the students find it hard to find that correlation. One particular college that we worked with the sports team and the maths and English team, and we got them all working together in a really fun, engaged way, and they looked at things like the distance of a rugby pitch and all sorts of fabulous things to try and integrate some of the maths and English. And then once the staff got together and worked together, it was interesting to see how much they turned the students around. And in that year that we did that, the college reported, and again, it's on the website, you can have a look at it, the college reported a real increase in the achievement of those learners in that particular year. In fact, it outstripped all the other learners that were on different courses. So that whole thing about working together as part of a team and understanding what each are doing, because one of the things that a lot of staff have said to me is, I didn't realise that's what those staff were struggling with, or that's what they were doing, or that was the problems they were having, and then they helped one another. I think also we're so busy at the moment, and teachers don't have a lot of time. And so what really helped them was working together on sort of putting tools and strategies and resources together so that everybody could do a tiny bit, but because it was all together, they were all training each other on how to use their own bits, and everybody had like a repository then of different and creative ideas. Everything from relating some maths to tattooing to creating alternative plays to tease out some of the English descriptions and things. So there's been some quite creative stuff that staff have done. They have to do it in a supportive environment, because sometimes when you're experimenting in your teaching, things don't always go well, but we learn a lot from that. And I think if your staff are allowed to learn from the mistakes, actually they grow and can put on some really good things with the students. We've also done things that are student relevant, like we've had YouTube competitions. So they had to create a very small video to teach somebody something within those subjects, and then they put it on YouTube, and then the winner was the one with the most likes. So you can do really creative things with students to get them on board with their learning, and I wouldn't dismiss the fact of how well learners can teach learners as well.
It's really great. So we've heard a lot from Achievement for All about wellbeing, core strength and emotion coaching. Can you tell us a bit about how these are supporting teaching and learning?
Yes, these are really interesting. They're 3 modules that the charity has put together over a period of time that are very relevant and very current. We are dealing with an awful lot of young people, both in schools and colleges and beyond actually, who are stressed, anxious. I know when I go into lots of post-16 settings, they're talking about mental health issues and having to deal with students who really aren't coping very well. Along with the things that we've already discussed around the anxiety of having to do maths and English again, staying on to college at the age of 18 without any clear goals, having to make big decisions when they don't really know what decisions they need to make. And all of those things are kind of relevant to, again, some of the things like they're disengaged, they're unmotivated, and there's behavioural issues. And we've worked with a lot of professionals, and we work with neuroscience to look at all the latest research and all the best advice and information that's out there at the moment, and brought it in together into an understandable and manageable module so that people can just go with that particular module. In Post-16, we've been using them kind of interchangeably because they're actually related. So for example, in the wellbeing module, we are looking at things around mental well-being and mental health and how best to support learners. The really big thing though there that's different, I guess, from a lot of the programmes is that we are also supporting the staff, because unless the staff have their own abilities to address their own well-being and mental health issues and stress and anxiety, they can't then really help the students. So we work very much from the point of the staff being able to support the students and modelling that behaviour as leaders and managers so that our staff are supported as well. In terms of the core strengths, it's no surprise really that we've got in there things like being able to self-regulate, being able to understand how to solve problems, being resilient, being able to sort of pick yourself up when things go wrong. It's interesting actually, because just recently when I was delivering some of this, somebody said to me, "Oh, I hate that word resilience because it always means that you've got to be in control and you can never have a bad day." And I said, actually, that's not the meaning of it. Resilience is about being able to cope with the bad days. It isn't about never having them. It's about recognising that we all have them, and we all have low moods, and we can all be stressed and anxious. And resilience is about the tactics that we use in order to get through those days and carry on going and keep going. And that's what we want to teach young people. In terms of the emotion coaching, this is a really powerful piece of information. Dan Siegel's done a lot of work on it, and we've also been working with Janet Rose, who's been teaching a lot of us and passing on the information about how to really use emotion coaching in the best and most effective way. And I've been using that with a lot of people recently who have found it really, really effective. And also it's effective for parents. So any of you with teenagers at home, it's actually something really useful you can use in your own life as well as in your professional life. So if you imagine all those three things mixed together, they are actually quite powerful, and they do help people work with teenagers and adolescents in a very different way. And probably worth saying that the research shows that adolescence starts at 14 but now doesn't really end, we found out, until about the age of 25, and possibly can go on longer. So the way that the brain develops and the way that particularly the frontal lobe, which gives us our executive thinking and our higher order thinking as we call it, hasn't fully developed at those ages. So we're actually in the position of helping young people find out what it is to be an adult. We are training them to be an adult. And so that's quite a powerful piece of information, that when staff find that out, and they learn how the brain works and what they can do to positively affect it, they do find that their practice changes, and actually they probably enjoy working with them a lot more.
That sounds amazing. So how do you work with colleges to make improvements and develop their provision?
Yeah, we do. It's basically a coaching model. So one of our achievement coaches would go into the college and work with a college champion. Sometimes the college has more than one champion if we're working in two completely different areas of the college. But basically one person will take the lead within the college. Our coach will go in and help and coach them and guide them through the processes and the development. But we also do a lot of training, so we can bring all this information in and train your staff and work with staff teams. So I've done everything from working with just the leaders to working with leaders and their staff teams to working with individual members of staff and coaching one-to-one, depending on what we're doing and how we're trying to do it. So we do workshops, we do training, we do coaching, we can do mentoring, and we work very much flexibly with the college, because obviously every individual setting in Post-16 is different. And where there's been lots of mergers and where there's lots of different campuses, we have to take all that into account as well. So we're very good at listening to you, of what you want to do and how you want to do it, and then fitting everything in around the way that your staff will get the most benefit from it.
That's brilliant. And finally, can you tell us how can people find out more about your programmes and more about Achievement for All?
Yeah, well, I would love to come in and talk to you. So if there's a group of you that want to get together, or you have a network meeting or a conference, or there's just a particular seminar that's going on, I can come in for free if you're near where I live. If not, we can do that virtually, and we can look at certain aspects of interest that you've got from what I've talked about, and be very happy to share some of the learning that we have from all the colleges that have worked with us, and give you some sort of key tricks, if you like, and tips to take away, so that you can start working on them immediately. You can call me directly, you can look at our website, you can email us or go to any of our social media, and I'm sure you'll be able to get hold of us through one of those channels, and we'll be really happy to help you.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Lainy.
Pleasure.